Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tack. I'm going to work on one of my reels today. Most of the time I'm working on customers' reels. And this one is a C3 Ambassadeur 7000. And these are the types of reels I fish, interestingly enough. I bought this one from somebody. And you can see there's quite a bit of wear on both sides of this. Cosmetically, it's not pretty. Mechanically, it works great. So I give them second chances. From what I understand, the fella had this one mounted in a rod holder on the boat. Guess what? It just kept wrapping back and forth, hitting the gun walls and scraping up the side plates. Well, that's a cosmetic thing. I don't tend to repaint reels. I don't refinish them. I kind of let them tell the stories. And I take them fishing because these are wonderful surf casting reels. One of the best around. They spin forever, and just enjoy using them. And we're getting ready for the fall striped bass season, so I want to tune this one up. But more importantly, I have a question from a viewer. A viewer has a reel that came into his shop, 7000, and it's missing the level wind function. And he's been asked to restore it and asked me if I had a video on it. Well, those of you that watch me service the reels know most of the time I don't remove the piece. In the video that he was watching, I just simply took the pawl out, cleaned it up, made sure that everything was right, and just concluded the service with that. In this case, however, he's missing the line guide. He wants to reinstall, and he's asking me how to do that. So we're going to do that, and if we have time at the end, I'm going to service the reel completely because I do want to get it ready for the fall season. And I've started by taking out the line off the reel. I recommend that as part of the annual service. I also like to start my videos by thanking our first responders and essential personnel and everybody involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. It really is an essential service that's being provided, and it's something that has been done selflessly in that they've put their lives on the line every day for us, and I thank you for that. All right, I've removed the gear side plate. You're going to see that there's nothing holding the anchor point of the line shield and the worm gear. It's all done on this side. So I want to just take the spool out, and we're going to remove this case to show you how to remove that line guide. You can do a complete service if you like that way, or more importantly, if you found a reel that doesn't have the line guide and you want to restore the function to that, then this is how you will do that. So I'm removing the 3 side plate screws here, and I'm putting them into a parts tray. You're hearing a click in the back. If it's off screen, I do apologize. I'll show it to you in a moment. But the parts tray is nothing more than the bottom of a plastic jug. It just holds the pieces and parts that I take off so that when I go to reinstall, I know where to find them. A lot of folks have different ways to go about the organization of their side plates. This just happens to be mine. All right, we're going to just clean a little bit of this off. You can see that this reel hasn't been done in a while, and you'll also see that I started as I was cleaning it to knock off the retaining clip that holds the worm drive. So you just simply unhook this. That's got a hook here, and there's an indentation on this side. And by the way, if you're working on a Shakespeare Tidewater reel, it's held in the same way. Just swing it over. Take a picture here. Note what side is up and what side is down. Here's your reel seat. So it's going in this way. It's real easy. Flip it around and try and put it in this way. And I don't know if it'll work or not, but you should put it back the way you found it. And taking pictures of the disassembly and how they come apart is a good way to get that done. Another good way to get that done is to grab the schematic. I just went out, there's actually on the Abu site, there's an ability to grab the schematics. We're working over here right now, and this is the pieces that we're going to be working with. We're going to work on that little plastic grommet that holds the line guide. Then we're going to work on the worm gear and the pawl and the like. Before you can remove that now, you can see it's floating, but you have to take the line guide and pawl out because that's going to act as a stop if you don't do that. And you want to grab that, If you have small fingers, you'll be able to grab it. If not, use a pliers like I'm using here. That is your pawl. I'm going to take the pawl and put that into the cap. Put both of those into my my parts tray. Now we should be able to remove the worm gear. And when we remove the worm gear, we can remove the rest of the assembly. So I have a line drive on there right now, and this is how it comes apart. So if you have a partial install on your frame, or if you have the full piece, this is what you're going to do to reinstall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a cotton swab through this because I see that there's a lot of accumulated grease and dirt in there. I want to get that out before I proceed. So now I have a clear channel there. If you are working with pieces and parts, well, this is how you install that little plastic shoulder. There's two sides that are proud. Those go into slots, and there's a rounded slide that goes there. When that comes over to this piece, you're going to see it's from the other side, but you'll see that those two tabs go this way to hold that so that the channel of this piece is down. All right, while I've got this out, I'm just going to take a paper towel, just wipe off the excess dirt and grease that's on there. Again, if you have a new piece, well, you just can run with that. A lot of people ask me on this, should you grease those? I don't make a habit of greasing those. I use oil. I think grease traps a lot of the dirt and debris where you're fishing. And what I like to do is minimize that dirt and debris, so I use an oil. And oil will evaporate faster than a grease, so if you do that, then as part of your servicing, you should re-oil. I've just cleaned the case up there. Again, this is my reel, but why not take a little pride in it? Even if those cases are all scraped up, it doesn't hurt to do the cleaning when you're doing the servicing on the reel. If you have questions on something like this, leave them in the comments section. That's actually how this request came in. Somebody left me a comment that said, normally I work on spinning reels. I just had a friend drop one of these off. It doesn't have the line guide assembly. I looked at your video on the 7000 servicing, and I didn't see how you took that off. Could you help me? And that came in a question. And if I can, if I have the time, I will certainly try and do that. And try to show you the way. And who knows, there's probably other folks out there that haven't tackled it and want to learn from it. So that's kind of what this is all about. All right, well, I've done a pretty good job, I think, to my standard anyway, of cleaning these things. So let's go show you how to put that back in. So we're kind of reversing the process now, right? So we know that we can put this in partially, but that we have to put the line guide in after we clear the shoulder of the reel. This is the downside. These are the two forks that are going to seat in here. And what we want to do is we just want to start bringing that through the hole, and then we want to bring the line guide up. Get that over the side of it. And then we want to seat the line guide into the groove on that top crossbar. Once we do that, we can come over and line the rest of this assembly up so that we can snap that in place. Just like that. So that's, oops, it was set, but I knocked myself out of the little groove. That's it. That's how it sits now. Okay, so we've got the channel on the bottom. This is sitting properly into the side plate. We have a loose line guide without any drive. Now we're going to take our worm gear and we're going to insert that through, and we're going to make sure that it comes through the hole in the back end here. Once that's set, we can come back now with that little clip, and remember what we said. You had to remember where the high and the low was, what the top and the bottom was. The fat side was the top. Put that on the clip first, like that. Then rotate it, and as you rotate it, this is a little bit of a spring metal. You need to push down to make sure that it clears the shoulder of the sidewall there, and it works like that. So this is a proper setup now of the worm gear and the retaining clip. You have the plastic grommet on this side, or bushing. Same thing on this side. And we now still have a floating line guide. That's because we haven't installed the pawl or the pawl cap. So let's go ahead and do that now. If this one looks brand new, if it wasn't, you would clean that up. You would do the same thing. Use a little pick or something. Make sure that the shoulders are clear of any debris. Make sure that your cup is cleaned out from any kind of oils in there or greases that may have accumulated. And then go ahead and reinstall this. So I like to put the pawl in first. And I like to turn trying to get it set up here. The teeth are high in there. There we go. I like to turn it so that it falls down and starts to set itself. And then I'll start the cap. It's very rare that you will ever get it to seat right in right away, but you want to do what you can ahead of time. Well, we may just have it in there. Let's see. We'll turn that. Look at that. We got that right the first time. What we don't have yet is some oil, so I'm going to use a fishing reel oil, and I'm going to oil that worm gear. Now again, some people will want to put some greases in there. That's okay, but just be sure that as you do a service, do your services frequently, that you check that grease, because you don't want it clogging down with dirt. If it clogs down with dirt from the banks or the seashore or the lake, then what's going to happen is you're going to get micro abrasion going on, and eventually you're either going to wear the pawl or the worm gear or both. So you need to be careful on that. And I get more than one time when a reel has come in and said, boy, this reel is acting horribly, or I got a noise when I'm casting, or whatever it is, and a lot of times you can trace it right back to that pawl. All right, so I've cleaned up a lot of this case. It's just a lot of grease in places it doesn't belong or shouldn't, will have no effect whatsoever, but it happens. And again, this is the first time I'm actually taking this reel apart. I did buy it from an individual. And this is your idler gear. You want to inspect all of the teeth on the idler gear and make sure that they're all there. And you want to do the same thing on the inside. The one side is going to be driven by the spool. That's the little piece here. That's the big wheel, and the little, I'm sorry, that's this wheel. And then the other side is going to be driven, this side is going to drive the worm gear. So inner circle worm gear, outer circle spool, kind of goes like this. You see how it matches up, and that small gear is going to drive the bigger gear. You can kind of watch it there go. That's how it works. Bigger gear is going to drive this worm gear here. All right, we've oiled it up. We can go ahead and put this back. There's a bearing in here. Doesn't hurt to put some oil in there. I have, you see my arm, and I try to keep my arm out of the pictures of late. I know these bearings work because I've tested them. We're going to just oil the bearing. I oil the bearings again. I don't grease. And go ahead and put this side plate back on. Just looking for the hole in the case. The hole in the case is the one that tells you where the stud is going to go. Makes it easier to set the rest of it up. 3 screws. So if you enjoy these kinds of videos, if you like what you're seeing, I'd ask you to subscribe. And if you do subscribe, I'd ask you to go ahead and hit the notification button. That way you're going to see all the videos that I post. And I post a lot of them. I've kind of started doing this about 1.5 years ago, and kind of sympathy, if you will. That's the wrong word, but just kind of as a way of saying I appreciate what everybody's doing during the pandemic, going day in and day out to their jobs, whether it's medical or uniformed services or whatever it is, just to try and help other people. And this is my way of helping other people, showing them how to service their reels. And I do, so I started doing this on a daily basis to kind of keep pace with the local hometown heroes. And I'll tell you, there's days where it's more demanding than others, that's for sure. All right, I think we have some time, so let's go ahead and do the rest of the reel here. We're going to take off the nut cap, and we'll service the other side of this reel. There's a little retainer clip here first and foremost. that comes out. Again, take the pictures. As you go through this, you want to note where the pieces and parts are so that you can put this back without too much drama. I think that's a 10mm nut we'll use. Nope, that's an 11, of course. I should set myself ahead of time. I never do, and I typically wind up doing something like this where I have to search for tools during the film, and I don't edit very much, so I apologize in advance for trying to find the right one. Here we go, that's the 11, the cap comes off. Again, this is a good place for pictures. You're going to notice that there's an E-clip on the top that's holding the gear sleeve in, so go ahead and take that off, and be careful about that one. This will shoot, it is under pressure. I've lost a few of these from time to time. I have a whole box of replacements, which is unfortunate. It's fortunate that I have the replacements. It's unfortunate that I need to use them. All right, once you take that off, you'll be able to remove the handle. When you remove the handle, you'll be able to take off the star adjuster. And this is also a good place to take pictures because you want to see what's underneath in terms of the tension washers and how they're set up. So these 7000 reels are beautiful reels. They really are. Regardless of the cosmetic condition of these, they are truly great casting reels. They have nice capacity to them, and they're a pleasure to fish with. And that's why I'm kind of working on this one. I'm going to strap it to a pole, and I'm going to go take it out in the surf and see how we do with it. There's a wider bushing that comes next. I don't know at what point a washer becomes a bushing, but that's wide enough that I think I'll call it a bushing. It could be called a washer. Now we have two screws that are holding the hole inside of this reel. Again, they'll go into my parts tray so I don't lose them. And you can take it off at this point. You don't have to work that bushing, burring out of that main shaft or anything at this point. The two pieces will come off, and then you can just simply raise up the case. We'll do the same thing here. We'll make sure that the inside of the case is clean. And I like to go with the least abrasive strategy, if you will. And that strategy normally is use a paper towel first and a cotton swab. And if you have something stubborn, go with a little bit more. All right, I just cleaned up the face of the bearing there. And of course, if that bearing was not working properly, then I would go ahead and I would replace the bearing. In this case, you don't need to do that. Bigger pieces stay outside of my parts tray. And here we go. This is a high speed. This has got a bigger gear than most of these. You can see how the yoke is set and the trip mechanisms. And for this purpose, I'm not going to take everything apart down to the bridge plates. I've done that on another one of these videos. But I will remove the main gear shaft just to clean up all the dirt and junk behind there, just because I kind of saw that we would have that issue there. You'll notice that one of the things that's going on here is there's a knocking of a little copper washer at the bottom of that shaft. And from time to time, that little piece gets lost. People ask me, is it needed? Is it necessary? Well, yeah, it is. And if you've lost it, please replace it. I'm going to use a penetrating oil just to get the rest of this up. The good news is this reel has been maintained, and there's no terrible buildup of salt or grease or grime or anything like that in here. It's just greased. It's been a while since it's been cleaned up and the like. If you want to replace these pieces, it's a relatively easy exercise to do here. The first thing you do is take a picture, because there's a lot of things going here. Don't trust your memory. You'd remove this spring, and this spring. That frees up your trip mechanism. This has got a double trip mechanism on it. Some of the reels have a single trip. If you have a single trip, you have a yoke that just comes down on one side. In this case, you have these two prongs are going to get tripped. And if you need to remove your yoke, that's an E-clip up top here. You're going to compress the spring. You'll push that in like this, and then you can slide that clip off. But in this case, again, I'm not spending a lot of time doing that. I'm just doing a superficial cleaning of it, and we can move on from there. Here's your back side. So a couple of things to note. We'll take this off because I do want to check what the drags look like. I have tension washers underneath, and I have my main gear stack, and I have my forked anti-reverse dog, and I have the bottom here. So this is how your gear sleeve sets. This is a pinch kind of friction-driven anti-reverse dog. So you'll notice that there's a fork in here. It's going to grab each side of that main gear. You can see how it opens up. And one needs to go on each side of this ratchet. How do you know which side is which? Well, you took a picture before, but you have to line the beak of that anti-reverse up with the notch in the ratchet, and then you split the tines on that fork. That's how your anti-reverse is supposed to look. Those two protrusions here, that's the trip points. Remember what I said, one is going to trip one is going to trip the other as it comes around. All right, we can go ahead and put this back on. I'm going to inspect the pinion gear. This one's dry. If there was any kind of issue with this, take a bristle brush and clean those teeth. In this case, those teeth are clean. You want to make sure that there's no nicks or bends in those things, that they're all uniform. Because if they're not, you'll get a gear vibration, and you probably would want to replace the pinion gear at that point. All right, we're going to just take this up. So I do these videos to show you how to do them. But, you know, if you don't want to do the video, I've gotten questions from time to time, do I service reels? And I do. And if you would like more information on that, if you leave me a note in the email and the business card that follows, I'll be happy to give you that reel repair information. I do it by mail, yes. All right, this is how it sits. The opening for the spool comes through the case, and the smaller side goes to the outside. Okay, we have a shaft that we can put back on now with that anti-reverse. And I'm going to run short. I have a capacity on the time limit on my camera, so I'm going to shut it off right now and turn it right back on. Well, that didn't take long at all, did it? All right, so the main gear sleeve is on. We can make sure that it's on properly, because if you don't have the slot up here for the E-clip, it's not sitting right. Okay, that little shield that holds the click ratchet is also the bottom of my drag washer on this side. I just want to clean out the drag washers here. Again, I'm going to take this reel fishing. I want to know the story behind this reel. And what I have is hard washers, so I'm fine with these. And these are like a carbon tex on the inside. You don't need to do anything with these. Sometimes you can oil and grease them. In this case, you don't need to do anything with them. What you do need to do is grease the teeth on that main gear. So let's just maybe put that on a little early. That's okay. Just want to make sure I still have that anti-reverse dog in place. Would have been easy to grease that before I put it on, but that's all right. It's more than one way, right? You want to make sure as you're playing around turning this thing that you don't pop that anti-reverse dog off. It's real easy to just kind of start playing around, and the next thing you know, that becomes dislodged from the click ratchet and winds up over here somewhere out of the play. You want to take care to do that right. All right, you can see the washers that we have now. I have two metal washers that are circular with straight squared shoulders, if you will, on the inside. And I have one that has a round circular outside and two ears on it. That's called the eared washer. That always goes in the middle. So we have one of the washers is in there already. We're going to go with the keyed washer next. Then we're going to put that second one in. I believe these are carbon tex washers. Whoever was doing this probably has upgraded that. When they owned the reel, we didn't get the full history of this reel. Third washer goes in, and the last of the keyed washers goes in. After we have that last keyed washer on, then we go for the bell washers, which provide tension for the star adjuster. Then we have a bushing or a fat washer. Then we have the bearing. Then we have the second bushing or fat washer. Then we go with our case. Line the holes in the case up with the holes on that the two carriers for the yoke. Make sure that your free spool release is in the notch. If you have trouble getting this case tight, just push down a little bit on that lever there. That's a lot of times that's all that's needed to seat it properly. We'll come back in here and put the two screws on. And we only have a few pieces to go before we give it a test. We're going to put some line on it, strap it to a 10-foot surf pole. We'll take it down to the Jersey surf there, and we'll give it a couple of casts. We see how we do. I trust that it's going to perform just like the other 7000s that I've used. I enjoy working with these reels. And again, inside I want to make sure that it doesn't fail me because, well, striped bass are coming. Bluefish and albacore are here. And or false albacore, the little tunny. And if I hook into one, I want to make sure that the reel that I'm using is not going to fail me. All right, we'll just set that aside for a moment. We're going to grab our star adjuster next. I did take a moment there to clean that side plate. You were noticing that. And there's no sense putting all of your time into working the reel and making sure that it's properly lubricated and everything, and not doing the rest of the cleaning on it. What did it take? 2 more wipes with a paper towel? Not much. Right? So go ahead and take your time. I recommend that you clean these reels on an annual basis. Make sure that you spend a minute or 2 or 3 cleaning it up when you do. All right. So we've done a couple of things today. This started out as a viewer's question on how do I replace the line guide or restore the line guide function. We showed you how to do that. We also took the time, since we had the time available, to go ahead and do the servicing of the reel. We showed you how to clean that. And we pointed out some of the interesting features of this reel while we did that. All right, this E-clip goes on now. Remember what we said when you mount that gear sleeve, make sure that you have that slot available. If you don't have that slot available, you didn't put something on properly. Here's your E-clip. You're followed by the cap nut now. That E-clip holds the gear sleeve to the shaft. That's not has nothing to do with holding the handle to the reel. The cap nut's what does that. When you have this approximately perpendicular to the hole, that's usually when these will line up. It takes a little bit of play, but I got it right there. I guess after doing this enough times, you kind of figure that out. You look for reference marks or something. All right, and then this one goes in. I'm not sure if this is the correct tie-down screw for the handle. Doesn't matter, it's holding. And then the last part is to put the side plate back on. Give it a spin before you do. There's no sense playing around with it and finding out it's not going to work. This one's very loose inside here. That's because there's a plastic shield on the spool here. You have brakes on the spool that's going to slow the spool down when casting. And when you go to mount the brakes and this assembly into the side plate, make sure that these brakes are pushed in. If they're left out, they can get trapped on this outer race, and then they just get destroyed. Again, find the open hole in the side case. That goes with the stud that doesn't have any threads on it. Makes it easier for you to orient the piece. There we go. All right, that seemed like it went on easy enough. And again, the only problem with this reel right now is that it's just chewed up a little bit cosmetically. It's not a problem for me. a problem for some folks, but you know what? The fish on the back side of the line there doesn't care that your reel has got bumps on it. He just cares about getting off the hook. So I don't mind. I believe that reels have histories, and if they could talk. But I think this one is a case where it just got banged into was in a rod holder for an awful long time and got banged along the sidewalls of the boat when it was taking the waves. And without paying attention to it, that's what will happen. All right, tightening down these, we'll give it a run, see how we did, and move on to our next project. Okay, give it a turn. Boy, it quieted down an awful lot. There's only a little bit of noise that's coming from the handle. So put a drop of oil on there. There's also, you can also oil through that cap there. Nice and smooth. Give it a spin here. Yeah, nice. Can't wait to put some line on there and give it a cast. There you go. That's it. That's the Abu Garcia 7000 C3. And this one's ready to go fishing. It's got its second chance. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, please like the video. So please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.